Okay, we're in OneNote and the consumer law exercises, I put them here. Now, first, I'm concerned that some people still don't understand the difference between the Sale of Goods, Supply of Services Act and the Consumer Protection Acts. Now, the Consumer Protection Act was put up and these two videos were put up to show the clear difference between these two laws, and a lot of people don't seem to understand these. These are the two main laws we deal with. There are also laws that come from the EU talking about product information, so that would give us things like the ingredients in a product, if it's a food product, have to be listed whichever is most in the product first. So for example, if you look at jam or marmalade, there's a large amount of sugar in it, so the first thing they will mention are the sugars included in that product. Now that's those two laws. These then are different. Now I'm assuming at this stage that you looked at the laws. So we have these two main laws, and each of the laws has a series of rules, or what they call principles. So when you're asked the question, name the law, it'll have to be the Something Act. If you're asked to talk about, well, what has been broken, you mention the law and the rule that is written into the law. So if I can just explain by having a look at these. And this is where a lot of people made mistakes, and I'm quite concerned, and that's why I think you need to go back and have a look at the work you've done in a lot of cases. So, if I just look at the first one. A plumber is called in to fix your leaking bathroom sink. You pay the price, and when he's finished, the sink is still leaking. So this plumber is supplying a service, and he didn't supply the service very well. So the law that talks about selling goods or selling services is the Sale of Goods, Supply of Services Act. So the law that's relevant here is the Sales of Goods and Supply of Services Act 1980. You need to know the full name of the law. Which element of the law? So which rule or which principle of the law? So this is relating to services, and there are three rules about services. They have to be done by a qualified person. I've no hint here that this guy isn't qualified. I didn't say anything about his qualifications, okay? So I'm assuming if he's called himself a plumber, he must have done the normal training to become a plumber. So it's not that. If he uses parts in the job, those parts must be merchantable. That's a second rule, okay? And the sink is still leaking. It could be that he used crap parts, but the only thing that's left really is the third rule relating to services. He didn't act with due care. He didn't do the job carefully. He didn't properly finish the job, or maybe when the job was finished, he thought it was done, but he didn't test it to make sure the thing worked properly. So that's the element of the law. Is the law broken? Yes, he didn't act with due care because the sink is still leaking. What should be done in this case? Now, the first thing you should do is contact the plumber and ask the plumber to come back and finish the job, because the job is obviously not finished. If he doesn't do that, then you'd be looking to use the law to get him to give you a refund. So the three things you're entitled to, the three R's: a refund, a replacement product or service, which you can't really give a replacement service, or a repair within a reasonable period of time. They're the three R's that you're entitled to. I'll just have a look at two more and we'll just see how we get on. Shop sells you a game. After using, you find the game is scratched, you can't use it. So it sold you a product. So this is about a product possibly problem. So what law is relevant? Well, the Sale of Goods, Supply of Services Act deals with products. Which element of the law? So which rule? So your complaint might be about the game not working, so the game is unusable. So there are four rules relating in the Sale of Goods, Supply of Services Act relating to products. So the products must conform to sample. If you use a sample of the product and you buy one, this one must be the same. Not really relevant here. That something must be as described. If you saw a catalogue, a brochure, an advertisement on TV, what you get must be the same. No, not really relevant here. Something must be fit for purpose. So the game is scratched and you've used it 100 times. Well, maybe the game isn't up to what it should be, but I think, to be honest, using it 100 times is probably a reasonable period of time. The other rule is relevant, possibly, is merchantable quality. So is it up to normal quality? In this case, if you use 100 times, you would say, yes, it is reasonable to expect that you should get 100 uses out of it, and maybe then the game is scratched because maybe you didn't look after it properly. So I would say here, is the law broken? No, it's not. What should be done in this case? Maybe look after your game better in future. Just quickly looking at the last one. You buy blue shoes online and they're red when they arrive. Okay, so there's a problem with the way this product was described to you. So there's two possible laws that we could talk about here. So you could talk about the Consumer Protection Act, because they were lied to. So that's one of the rules. So Consumer Protection Act talks about you can't lie or mislead consumers. Prices must be clear. This is one that a lot of people had a problem with. If something is listed and they say it's a discounted price, well, it must have been sold at the higher price for at least 1 month in the previous 3 months. The other thing here relating to the Consumer Protection Act is you can't use aggressive retail practices harassing people to get them to try and buy your products. But in this case here, you could say the law is the Consumer Protection Act, because they lied to the consumer. They said it was going to be blue, but you got them and they were a different color. Or you could say that this is not as described. Well, the law that says as described is the Sale of Goods Supply of Services Act. And then you'd say, well, has the law been broken? Yes, because shoes were not the same as what you saw online. So what should be done? Well, you are entitled to get a replacement product, or if not, a refund. Send them back and they'll give you your money back. So I hope that explains it. Now, what we're going to have to do now, because so many people are making mistakes with this, I need you to go and write a letter for the next ones that I put up. So there's another series of exercises here, and I want you to write a consumer law letter that explains, that deals with, let's say, the first 3 of the issues in it. I'll explain it properly on Edmodo.